Simplicity was a little different than anything I've written before, simply because it was more off the cuff. It was being introduced into my first, I guess, more professionally styled project. So I really was just trying to write the craziest, most technical thing possible. I think that song really was designed as kind of like an introduction for me into the band. Yeah, so really before my musical history, I'm actually a drummer first. So been drumming since about 10 or 11. Didn't really give it up, I just haven't had a chance to play, but it's been about a year. Would like to get back into it personally, but kind of started out there in the percussion section. Played saxophone middle and high school as well as just noodling around the guitar and bass whenever I get a chance, just for fun, even though I'm no good at it. But vocals just kind of fell in my lap. I always was like a voice impersonator and kind of a voice actor type. Always loved doing that. Got presented the opportunity after I put a couple covers up on YouTube, just having fun in college, and ended up doing really well. Got approached by drummer Daniel, and the rest is history, man. It's fun. I love what I do. It combines a few passions that I have together, and you know, death metal is pretty much my life. So, you know, those three things together, nothing's better. So that's pretty much how I came about to be, and how I kind of just fell into Krosis. Kind of fell into my lap, and I kind of fell into theirs as well. So pretty much just how it happened.
Hi, I'm Adam. I play guitar for Krosis. Brandon and I started this band in 2014. We were in 2 bands previously to that. This is only the 3rd iteration where things have actually worked out. But we've been playing music together for about 10 years, which is pretty much about how long our friendship has been.
Before I joined this band, played some music with some friends. Didn't really do a whole lot professionally, musically at all, really. Played like one big show with a couple other local bands just that I was friends with. Then I was out of the scene for about a year or so, and then I happened to be working at the same restaurant that one of our guitarists, Adam, and his family were visiting one day. Happened to be serving their table, and just kind of talking to him about this little project that they were trying to start up called Krosis. And I told him that I was out of the scene for a little while and missed playing music, and decided to go over, try out, and the rest is kind of history. Before that, really just kind of trying to practice my craft and gigging around with some friends, playing a bunch of shows, just kind of trying to slowly kind of get my name out there. But it wasn't really until I joined Krosis that anything monumental really happened at all. So
let's see how I joined the band. I originally hit these guys up to do photos and video for them, one of their shows in Greensboro, and Daniel convinced me to play bass instead. So I ended up not doing the photos and ended up joining the band. So outside of the band, I do a lot of photo and video work, other local bands, and that experience really translates well to Krosis. I'm able to do playthrough videos for us, editing footage, as well as editing all like live photos we'll get from other photographers, and it's nice to bring all that experience back to this band and help out the other locals.
Hey guys, my name is Brandon. I am one of the guitarists for Krosis and the mixing engineer of Eltar Studios. Going into this album was definitely a little bit of a learning curve for us, but I think it was very rewarding in the same way. We went in knowing some things that we wanted to improve on, and we went in knowing some things that we definitely wanted to experiment with, and some things that we already knew for a fact were going to be solidified with the record, as far as production goes, as far as maybe amp selections, and even some of the chordal things that you hear in the background, as far as orchestra or anything that goes further into the synth realm. We spent a lot of time writing, like months, just writing all of the songs, writing support parts, background parts, just trying to make it all make sense. And it was especially tougher this time through. Soul and Bottom kind of came naturally. Soul and Bottom was you know, it was fun. It was a project that we all enjoyed doing. It was something that, you know, in the heat of the moment, it made sense, and we're all extremely happy with how that came out. But we wanted to challenge ourselves further, and this album allowed us to challenge ourselves further.
Yay, restring time.
Time to use one of many strings. Boom, boom.
Tell us about the restringing process, Brandon.
Well, you want to make sure that all of these are at a 90-degree angle so that you can keep your strings in tune whenever you tighten this shit up. That's it.
As far as writing and recording this album, Brandon and I definitely took a lot more time on every single part. Before we put everything together, like how many tracks were going to be on the album, we had 14 songs written, not fully, but you know, more like skeletons of songs written, and we whittled that down to 10, and then just focused hard on that. Whereas Soul and Bottom was more, we just wrote constantly for about a month straight. That Soul and Bottom was done musically in about a month, and so with the lyrics. There was some turmoil in there, as far as we lost our vocalist at that time, or he quit the band at that time, and so we had to scramble to find a new guy. And he came in, so pretty much everyone in the band worked on lyrics. So we wanted that album to be a concept originally, but when things just didn't go the way they were supposed to, we had to scrap the idea for that being a concept. So really only 2 songs fit what we originally were going to do, and those were the title tracks on the bottom and Terminus. So going into this album, we wanted to take our time and really refine the aspects, especially since this was going to be a concept this time. And so probably 6 months before the album was actually done was when we already had skeletons of songs like ready to go.
Personally, I believe this is the best thing that we've written. I believe that we've had other strong works, but this is definitely the most mature, technical, cohesive work that we've been able to put out. And this is also the first time that we've really fed off of each other as a group. I think that, you know, there is more input all around in this project than maybe previous songs. Definitely everyone had their hand in each song that went out, and you can tell that there's a lot more care that was taken with a lot of these passages. Previously, when we would write, it would be back and forth between Adam and I, and we would reach out to the others once we kind of had a solid core idea. From that, we would kind of go and, you know, tweak whatever we could, and we would, you know, label that as finished. With this, looking at the lyrics first and following that musically was it was eye-opening. It was a whole different way for me to write a riff. It was different for me to structure an album based off of the vocalist, you know. This is, and to try and make it not sound that way, you know, to try and still keep it musical, to try and still keep it entertaining for every aspect, whether it was from the drummer's perspective, or a bassist, or even somebody that's really obsessed with background atmosphere and synth. That's something that we haven't necessarily we've done well, but we definitely wanted to expand upon it and highlight that more with this album. This is gonna suck so much.
We are progressive deathcore, hence why we are using the top 3 strings of an 8 string only. Cancer.
Nothing new, nothing special, just the same old, same old.
Same old, same old,
Same
old shrimp captains say same
old screams.
So, from a musical standpoint, I think this is going to be the next step. And I probably would say we'd speak for all of us as musicians to take us to that next level. Definitely me personally, with some of the drum parts, just especially because while they are different than the ones on Soul and Bottom, these are definitely a different style. I haven't done a whole lot of tech. So, you know, kind of fusing that technical aspect with the progressive, with all the deathcore and the death metal. Kind of allows me to try a different style of drums and really push myself as a musician, speed-wise, technicality-wise. So that I'm really excited for, to kind of see where that takes me as a percussionist. For, I guess, what it means, I would say it is probably the culmination of everything we've done as a band. This is something that we have worked on probably, I think, for a longer period of time than anything we've done prior to this. You know, from a concept point of view, from a musical point of view, just all around, this is, as of right now, kind of our magnus opus. You know, definitely the thing that we're the most proud of, and that, you know, we feel that this is going to be hopefully the most well received by everyone. Definitely something that we are the most proud and just, you know, excited to show the world, and songs that we really feel are the embodiment of our maturation as musicians and as people, and just overall, you know, the way that we are as thinkers, and yeah, all that good stuff.
All right, fucker. Wait. Get this right on out of here. Chug, 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 chug. Where we're going? No, we're not. Let me know when you're ready. I think I'm ready. Okay. Alright. Did you just want to punch that?
I think so. Let's hear it.
It almost doesn't matter.
It really does. It is. Yeah, that'll do. So main difference between Soul and Bottom and the new album would be bass-wise. I focused a lot more on experimenting with how to support the guitar riffs. So typical way we've done it in the past is there's a guitar riff, I'm basically playing an octave down. I'm pretty much following the parts to the T. So on this album I did a lot more of doing the octave up, or same octave as the guitars, to really add clarity to these low tunings that we use. So just trying to experiment and go a little bit different direction with the bass. So at times I'll diverge completely from the rhythms of the guitars. I may follow the sample instruments or follow the kick pattern of the drums. So yeah, just trying to, you know, stand out, make the bass parts a little bit different than your typical lower octave in the guitars. So I've been a big fan of concept albums for a while. Starting with Dream Theater, they were one of the biggest influences, and having that overarching story just adds a lot of depth to the music, and it adds a lot of replay value. You can listen to these albums multiple times and get deeper and deeper into these stories, and instrumentally, having ideas that come back is really nice. It's like familiar to the listener, and it's a callback to some of the previous songs. The first and the last song on this album have basically the same riff, but tonally it sounds completely different. So first time through, it's more this dark, drudgy kind of sound, and then at the end of the album, it's more uplifting. So bringing back the same riff, but with a different tone, is nice to the listener. It's familiar, but also different. So
I just saw this $10 just chilling on the ground after 3 rickety old people walked by, and so I picked it up and I asked them, I was like, didn't y'all just drop money? And they're like, no, it's yours now though. I was like,
Must be your lucky day.
literally, yeah, it's like verbatim what they said. And I was just like, kind of like, I don't know about that yet.
I'm dying soon.
But no one came looking for no $10, so fuck them. $10 my way.
My grandkids have all my money.
So, B-Rye, what song did we just finish?
we finished that song 10.
No, calm down. Just at least do it by track.
Track 2, session 10.
Don't worry about sessions.
They don't know
It was
nothing about
goddamn.
sessions,
It was
no
track
demo names.
2.
Track
It was track 2. Fuck.
Doom. This will kill me.
Get in your cage, bitch.
Concept of the album is designed to be realistic but uplifting at the same time. You know, we all listen to metal here. It gets kind of repetitive to me, just kind of having the same themes over and over again. What I wanted to do is create almost like a novel or a fictional story, basically just to help motivate people in a way to, you know, push through personal struggles and realize that they can do the things they set out to do if they just have right attitude and they just focus on not necessarily what's always morally right, essentially, even though that's part of it, but more of what's best kind of for them and what they'll take the better path to be and they'll appreciate it later. So it's not necessarily like an inspirational piece, but if it helps someone to get through some difficult times, it's kind of what I wrote.
Might have to change the word before it, actually. Oh, yeah, I know what I can do. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say Become Undone.
Yeah, that works. I have an idea.
I think that sounds full enough.
I think it sounds full enough. I think for Become Undone, I might add a layer to that. A low layer to give it a little weird tone to it.
Here we go.
It's kind of more of a personal story. My note, I developed it actually from the concept of duplicity, but more into my own personal life. So really that's the goal of it, is realism, but also holding some of your virtue and your ideals true to your heart so that you can come out on top with whatever you're pursuing. So it's really the main reason I wrote it. Just wanted to write something positive to share with everybody.
Well, are you against doing guitar right now? Or are you pretty blown, pretty tired?
I thought we
I'm
were.
fine with doing guitar right now.
Yeah.
If you
Let's
want.
do, because I should take a break anyway, so I don't blow my shit out.
Right. Okay.
But if you can get one done, I'll do it right after. I'll go in right after you're done.
Let's do this because it'll take us longer to do the last song. Let's go ahead and do track 4.
Yeah, that sounds good. Get some water and shit.
Eat.
Give you a break. Yeah. Let me open up this next session.
Let me listen to that high again, though.
God. That was dumb, Mac.
All right. Time to open.
Dumb. The boy rests.
He lives. He lives.
So Brandon and I are definitely the main writers as far as guitar and song structure go. Brian writes all his own bass parts. Dan's on his own parts, and Mac is the lyricist. So Brandon and I will generally have like structures for songs ready. We'll sometimes have a basic drum layout planned out, and Dan will come in, hear it. He likes to change a lot of it, but we also kind of understand Dan's rhythms and what he would put somewhere. So sometimes we get away with our writing a drum part or two. But as far as guitars go, me and Brandon have been working together so long. We know our strengths and weaknesses as far as who's better at writing what. Brandon is definitely a lot more techy and a lot more complex in his riffs, whereas I'm more simple, for lack of a better word. I can generally come in and say, this part's just a little too over the top, it's unnecessary, doesn't fit in the song, but it probably could if we rework it. This part of the riff I think is solid, but this part just needs a little bit of tweaking, maybe as far as just fret placement or just not needing to be taken out of the song completely. That goes for me too. If we're sitting there, we're stumped on a song, I can't think of what maybe needs to come next, I'll throw out an idea, I'll put it down, we let it sit there for a little bit, we sit on it, and we come back the next day and we're like, fuck that, that was terrible. Why did we ever put that in a song? Banter, blah,
Put you on the
blah,
spot.
banter.
Yes.
This is the funny portion of the documentary,
Yes.
where we don't play instruments, or most of us don't, just one. And we have to speak louder.
All right, let's do it.
Anyways.
Let's try it.
Do you want to try that whole section?
Yeah, let's try that whole section.
Yeet.
Only for one side though. Leave the other harmony because I have to figure out how to get
Which
that.
one? The bottom?
No, the top one. Or leave the bottom. Let's do the top one.
All right, here we go.
I don't know, maybe.
Honestly, I need to start with that. What? You not satisfied?
I mean, it's good.
Want to redo it?
I just wonder if it can be tighter.
Can always be tighter. You want to redo it?
Yeah, let's redo it.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this whole section just solo like this.
Okay.
That was pretty damn clean.
I think this album will have a lot more appeal to different types of people, different types of genres, just because of the influences and how many influences that we've managed to fit into a lot of these songs. Some things were a little bit more strategic than others, especially just to cater to Mac's lyrics and to this concept that he wrote. Certain instruments were picked out specifically for that, to better create this landscape. So as a listener, kind of digesting all of this, I think it's going to be really, really cool to see certain people put, everything together and realize, oh man, this is different.
I think I sent you a pre-pro that was fucking horrible, but I sent you a pre-pro.
Well, I appreciate the pre-pro nonetheless.
Good thing for stabilizers on the camera. I think I have the black lung.
They call me Wheezy because I wheeze.
Shut up.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I definitely had to get my gravity blast perfect. Really, the speed with this one is not even so much the speed, but the speed and endurance. Just overall, a lot of technical death metal is really all over the place, really fast, very, very challenging. It obviously still has its grooves and breakdowns and whatnot, but overall, I really tried to combine the progressive aspect, which is more of my comfort zone. Ironically, it's just what I've studied more with as a music theory student and other things like that. But the tech side is it's really just, all over the place, very almost like organized chaos, trying to kind of make sense of all that and really work on some different fills, get my blast beats up past 270 and then some, different, molar techniques and finger techniques and really working on my heel toe, stuff like that to try to get cleaner and tighter as a drummer, and hopefully be able to pull off these songs live, which is always a challenge. Typically with albums, especially for, I guess, my choice of favorite albums as a progressive music fan, I find that the ones that do kind of make my top 5 list or top 10 list are generally concept albums. It seems kind of to be more of a thing in the progressive or maybe the technical music community that they do a lot of concept albums, and I really love how you can encompass a massive idea or just such a gargantuan, concept, for lack of a better word, into an album where it kind of has that uniformity, as opposed to kind of jumping all around, which, there's nothing wrong with that, but I really personally enjoy whenever there is this huge underlying, just tone or story, if you will. And I really think that's why we all were kind of on the same page with that. And then Mac gave us his ideas that he was kind of starting to really brainstorm, and we all just loved it and totally ran with it. And now we have something that is just larger than life, very metaphorical, very existential, just something that will take multiple listens to really understand and then some.
This album is the most important thing I've ever done in my life. Hearing this done was a lifetime of work, not necessarily on the album itself, just of everything that it took for me to get to this point of basically a dream. So the fact that, we have this done finally, and you hear your results after years of practice and kind of wishing you could do something but still working toward it, and then it comes to fruition is, there's no words for it. This is the most important thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I expect this to take the project to higher places, which is the goal, but really it just, even if nothing else happened after this, it's already fulfilled me. So yeah, it's really important to me. So this is going to be my baby. It's probably going to be the best thing I ever wrote. The best, maybe not necessarily the best thing I ever recorded, because we all get better as musicians, but I don't see myself having more of a personal connection with any other works that I might work on in the future than this, and encompassed my state of mind and what I did to get myself out of issues that I was having, as well as being the first sort of outlet that I've had professionally to get my creative expression fulfilled. So, and getting to work with legendary producers and a great band too. So yeah, this is pretty much the most important thing I have ever done, and maybe what I will ever do.
I mean, we can keep it the same. It sounds good.
That's so gross.
It is. I think we'll just leave it. That's so gross already. That's good, but I can do it cleaner.
Alright.
It's still pretty clean though, but not quite what I'm looking for. It's got to be a little more choppy.
I got you. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, fuck. Can you go back like the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Jesus.
Dumb.
Dumb. I think that when people hear this album, it's going to change their perspective on us. Now, I think people who already, know our music and like us, I think they're going to like us even more. And I think the people that initially didn't like us when we released Soul and Bottom are potentially going to be turned over. Now, they might hear us and be like, all right, these guys are okay. They don't suck as bad anymore. I think that's definitely thanks to the new direction we're taking. And we're not changing our sound just because, someone wants us to, or the label's wanting us to. Unique Leader is definitely amazing for that. You know, they've allowed us to have full creative control, so that really allows us to take the steps as a band without anyone telling us to do it. But we go back and listen to Soul on the Bottom, and we're just like, man, I don't know why we wrote this. You know, it was a rushed project. We loved it at the time. Now after it's, you know, we've listened to it for 3 years and played it for 3 years. You know, we hear the flaws in it, and we understand certain aspects of why people didn't like it, for sure. So with this album, we think it's a more mature sound, and we've definitely gone a more techie route, I would say. We're definitely taking in more proggy and technical elements to kind of fuse those, because all of our members have just different tastes in music, and so being able to come together and blend all of those elements, I think, is really what makes our sound like us.